In the late 21st century, as Earth grappled with climate crises and dwindling resources, an ambitious mission aimed at Europa, Jupiter's moon, unearthed a discovery that would forever alter the course of human history. Buried beneath miles of ice, the mission uncovered the remnants of an ancient alien civilization. Among these remnants were the hydro weapons, enigmatic technologies capable of manipulating water in unprecedented ways. Initial excitement over the discovery quickly turned to apprehension as the true nature of the weapons became apparent. Designed to control, enhance, and weaponize water, these devices could create water from seemingly nowhere, manipulate weather patterns, and even cause catastrophic tidal waves and storms. The potential for misuse was immense, leading to a worldwide debate about their possession and use. Fearing the destructive potential, the United Nations convened an emergency session. The result was a unanimous decision to seal the weapons in a deep ocean facility, dubbed the Abyssal Vault, located in the Mariana Trench. This location was chosen for its inaccessibility and the pressures that could naturally help contain the technology. Dr. Lena Kovac, a leading hydrologist and one of the first to advocate for the containment of the hydro weapons, was appointed as the overseer of the vault. Her team, consisting of top scientists and security experts, monitored the facility, ensuring that the weapons remained undisturbed and contained. However, peace is often fleeting. A radical group, calling themselves the Triton's Wake, believed that humanity deserved to wield such power, to claim what was found on Europa as their own. Their philosophy was rooted in the belief that human advancement should not be hindered by fear or ethical constraints. As tensions rose globally over water shortages and environmental disasters, Triton's Wake saw an opportunity to shift the balance of power. They orchestrated a daring plan to infiltrate the Abyssal Vault and unleash the hydro weapons upon the world. Their goal was simple: to demonstrate the power of the weapons and force global leaders to acknowledge and utilize this ultimate tool of control and creation. One cold, starless night, their plan was set into motion. Under the cover of darkness, a small, heavily equipped team descended into the depths of the ocean. As they approached the Abyssal Vault, all communications blacked out, and the world above remained unaware of the potential catastrophe brewing beneath the waves. The chapter ends with Dr. Kovac receiving an urgent, scrambled message from the security team at the vault. Her worst fears realized as the alert confirmed an unauthorized entry. The calm of the ocean belied the storm that was about to begin, heralding a series of events that could potentially reshape the world as we know it. Following the breach at the Abyssal Vault, global panic was momentarily stalled by the lack of immediate catastrophe. However, the true crisis unfolded quietly as the radical group, Triton's Wake, successfully extracted one of the hydro weapons. Their escape was as silent as their entry, leaving the world's governments scrambling to understand the implications of the theft. Triton's Wake wasted no time in demonstrating the power of their newly acquired weapon. Their first public demonstration was a chilling display of control over the Nile River. Without warning, the river's flow intensified, flooding villages and farmland along its banks in minutes. The group broadcasted their manipulation live, sending a clear message: water, the source of life, was now a weapon under their command. The leader of Triton's Wake, a charismatic and enigmatic figure known only as Morvan, appeared on global broadcasts. He issued a series of demands to the world's governments, emphasizing that the hydro weapon was just a sample of the power they possessed. Morvan declared that unless their terms were met, further demonstrations would follow, each escalating in scale and devastation. Governments around the world reacted with a mix of outrage and fear. Emergency meetings convened, military forces were put on high alert, and negotiations began in earnest to try to prevent further chaos. Meanwhile, the public's reaction was a mix of anger and desperation, with widespread protests demanding action and safety assurances. In the midst of this global crisis, a secretive consortium of nations, unofficially named the Aquarius Alliance, formed in response. This alliance, comprising both water-rich and water-poor countries, saw the need for a unified front to combat the threat posed by Triton's Wake. They pooled their resources, intelligence, and military capabilities, focusing on locating Triton's Wake and recovering the stolen hydro weapon. The Aquarius Alliance worked feverishly to track down Triton's Wake, only to encounter dead ends and false leads. The group had anticipated the response and covered their tracks with exceptional skill. Meanwhile, Morvan continued to taunt global leaders with cryptic messages and vague hints of their next target. As tensions reached a boiling point, the true power of the hydro weapons became clearer. Satellite imagery revealed drastic and unnatural changes in weather patterns across the globe, hinting at the group's growing boldness and the potential for worldwide environmental disaster. In the closing scenes of the chapter, Dr. Lena Kovac, still reeling from the breach of the vault, received classified intelligence about a potential location of Triton's wake. The tip came from a dubious source, claiming that the group was planning a massive demonstration in the Sahara Desert, intending to turn it into a fertile oasis overnight as a proof of their godlike power. With this critical information, Dr. Kovac faced a monumental decision: to attempt a covert operation to reclaim the hydro weapon and prevent further chaos, or to prepare for the worst environmental catastrophe humanity had ever seen. As she pondered her next move, the world waited on the brink, unsure of when or where Triton's wake would strike again. As the world reeled from Triton's wake's threats and demonstrations, a disparate group of individuals, disillusioned with their government's paralysis, began to coalesce around a bold plan. These individuals, dubbed the outcasts by the media, were an eclectic mix of scientists, former military operatives, and environmental activists. They were united by a common goal: to neutralize the hydro weapons and restore balance before Triton's wake could further destabilize the planet. The leader of the outcasts was Captain Marcus Phoenix, a decorated but now discharged naval officer whose expertise in underwater operations made him uniquely suited to the challenges posed by the hydro weapons. Joining him was Dr. Ilara Miles, a brilliant but ostracized hydrologist whose radical theories about water conservation had been dismissed by mainstream science. The group also included Ghost, a mysterious hacker known for exposing government corruption, and Tanya Reeves, a former Peace Corps volunteer and expert negotiator whose deep connections in international aid communities provided crucial support and intelligence. Their plan was ambitious and fraught with danger. They aimed to infiltrate one of Triton's wake's known strongholds, located in a remote part of the Canadian Arctic, where it was rumored another hydro weapon was being tested. The harsh environment and the stronghold's heavy fortification made it an almost suicidal mission. Undeterred, the outcasts spent weeks planning every detail, pooling their unique skills to overcome the logistical nightmares. Dr. Miles devised a way to neutralize the hydro weapon temporarily, using a chemical compound that disrupted its water manipulation abilities. Ghost secured blueprints of the stronghold and created digital diversions to mask their approach. Tanya negotiated clandestine support from sympathetic elements within various governments, securing the necessary equipment and transport. The mission commenced under the cover of a fierce Arctic storm, which provided natural camouflage for their approach. Equipped with state-of-the-art stealth gear and armed with non-lethal weapons, the outcasts made their way through the frozen wilderness, guided by the steady hand of Captain Phoenix. As they neared the stronghold, the severity of their undertaking became apparent. Triton's wake had fortified the area with high-tech surveillance and armed guards, underestimating the cunning and determination of the outcasts. Using a combination of hacking, diversion tactics, and sheer physical prowess, they breached the perimeter, finding themselves within the bowels of a facility that was part experimental lab, part military base. Inside, they encountered not just the guards and scientists, but also environmental hostages, local activists who had been captured trying to expose the testing site. The outcasts' mission quickly expanded from neutralizing the weapon to also rescuing these prisoners. The climax of the chapter unfolds with a tense and high-stakes confrontation between the outcasts and Triton's wake operatives. As Marcus and his team work to disable the hydro weapon, a fierce battle ensues. Dr. Miles successfully injects her compound into the weapon's core, initiating a volatile reaction that threatens to destroy the entire facility. With the weapon neutralized and the hostages freed, the outcasts make a desperate race against time to escape the crumbling stronghold. They emerge into the storm, battered but victorious, having secured a critical victory. However, the win is tempered by the knowledge that this was only one weapon, and Triton's wake still possesses more. As the chapter closes, the outcasts, now heroes in the eyes of those they saved, prepare for the next phase of their fight, knowing the path ahead is fraught with even greater challenges. After their initial success in the Arctic, the outcasts gathered back at their makeshift headquarters, a secluded compound hidden in the dense forests of Norway. The victory had been sweet, but it was clear that the battle was just beginning. Triton's wake still had multiple hydro weapons at their disposal and were likely to be on high alert after the breach at their Arctic facility. Captain Marcus Phoenix, ever the strategist, proposed a daring plan to strike at the heart of Triton's wake by infiltrating their main repository where the majority of the hydro weapons were believed to be stored. This facility, codenamed Leviathan, was located deep in the Amazon rainforest, camouflaged beneath the dense canopy and guarded by both technological marvels and a contingent of highly trained mercenaries. The planning phase was meticulous. Dr. Ilara Miles developed a more potent version of her chemical compound, capable of permanently disabling the hydro weapons without the risk of catastrophic environmental damage. Ghost, the hacker, managed to intercept communications that provided crucial details about the security protocols and the layout of Leviathan. Tanya Reeves worked her contacts to secure a silent transport, modified, low-emission hovercrafts capable of eluding radar detection. Equipped with their new tools and intelligence, the outcasts set out under the cloak of night, navigating the treacherous Amazon River. Their approach was silent, the hovercrafts barely making a ripple in the water as they penetrated deeper into enemy territory. Upon arrival, they found Leviathan to be a fortress melding with nature. Its structures were covered with foliage, and its defenses were a mix of high-tech security systems and natural barriers. The perimeter was patrolled by drones and armed guards, all under the watchful eyes of advanced surveillance equipment. Ghost initiated the operation by hacking into the facility's security network, temporarily disabling the cameras and misdirecting the drone patrols. This window provided the outcasts with the opportunity they needed to slip past the initial defenses and enter the heart of Leviathan. Inside, the environment was humid and oppressive, the air thick with tension. Marcus led his team through the labyrinthine corridors, towards the central chamber where the hydro weapons were stored. The closer they got, the heavier the resistance, security measures grew more complex, and Triton's Wake mercenaries more frequent. Dr. Miles and Ghost worked together to bypass each obstacle, neutralizing security measures while Marcus and Tanya subdued any opposition with non-lethal force. Their progress was slow and fraught with close calls, but each step brought them closer to their goal. Finally, they reached the central chamber. It was a vast, dome-like structure filled with rows of hydro weapons, each encased in reinforced glass and monitored by an autonomous defense system. Here, they faced their biggest challenge, disabling the autonomous defenses without triggering an alarm that would bring the entire facility down on them. Using a combination of Ghost's hacking skills and Dr. Miles's chemical expertise, they managed to create a localized EMP burst that temporarily disabled the electronic defenses without damaging the weapons. Quickly, they moved in, applying Dr. Miles's compound to each weapon, ensuring that they were rendered harmless. Just as they were about to exfiltrate, an alarm blared. Their presence had been discovered. What followed was a frantic escape through the now chaotic compound, as Triton's Wake forces converged on them from all sides. The outcasts fought their way back to the hovercrafts, using every bit of cover the jungle provided. As they sped away down the river, under fire from pursuing drones and speedboats, the chapter closes with the outcasts narrowly escaping, their mission successful but not without cost. Several members bore injuries, and the realization that Triton's Wake would now be hunting them with even greater fervor weighed heavily on their minds. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was a sense of accomplishment and a renewed determination to end the threat of the hydro weapons once and for all. After their harrowing escape from the Leviathan facility, the outcasts found temporary refuge in a secluded research station in the Andes Mountains, a site originally intended for climatological studies but abandoned due to funding cuts. Here, amidst the cold, rugged peaks, they planned to delve deeper into the technology of the hydro weapons, hoping to repurpose their incredible capabilities for the good of humanity. Under the cautious guidance of Dr. Ilara Miles, the team began a series of experiments aimed at understanding the fundamental properties of the hydro weapons. The goal was to harness their ability to manipulate water without the destructive side effects previously demonstrated by Triton's Wake. These experiments were risky. The potential for uncontrollable outcomes was high, but so was the promise of revolutionizing water resource management globally. Dr. Miles theorized that the weapons used a form of quantum entanglement to manipulate water molecules at a distance, possibly even extracting water vapor directly from the atmosphere. To test this, she rigged a controlled environment in the station's largest lab, using one of the neutralized weapons as the primary tool. Her initial experiments focused on small-scale water generation, aiming to create controlled rain within the confines of the lab. As Dr. Miles progressed, she documented unexpected successes. One experiment resulted in the spontaneous formation of a small cloud, which rained gently inside the lab. The potential implications were staggering. Such technology could potentially reverse desertification, provide water in drought-stricken regions, and even aid in firefighting efforts across the globe. While Dr. Miles pushed the boundaries of science, Ghost worked on cracking the alien encryption found in the weapon's operating system. His breakthroughs provided crucial insights into how the weapons could be controlled and further modified for peaceful purposes. This decryption also revealed alarming data. Triton's Wake was far larger and more embedded in global infrastructures than previously thought. Meanwhile, Marcus Phoenix and Tanya Reeves focused on fortifying their base against potential attacks. They set up perimeter defenses and trained the team in emergency response tactics, knowing that Triton's wake might strike at any moment, desperate to reclaim their lost assets. As the experiments continued, the team kept a wary eye on global developments. News feeds reported increased tension over water rights and environmental disasters that were becoming more frequent and severe. The world was a tinderbox, and the technology they were developing could either be the key to global stability or a spark that could ignite further chaos. The chapter culminates in a breakthrough moment when Dr. Miles manages to create a sustained rainfall over a small, arid plot of land adjacent to the station. The rain was gentle, nourishing, and perfectly controlled, a far cry from the destructive torrents unleashed by Triton's wake. This success brought the team not only a sense of achievement but also a renewed sense of urgency to share their findings with the world. However, their celebration was short-lived. A sudden security alert from the perimeter signaled an intrusion. Triton's wake had found them. As alarms blared and the team scrambled to secure their research, Marcus rallied everyone for a defense. They were not just fighting to protect their lives now, but also the hope of a new future they had glimpsed through their experiments. As the chapter closes, the outcasts brace themselves against the night, ready to protect their newfound knowledge at all costs, the first drops of a scientifically induced rain blending with a tension-filled mist surrounding their mountain sanctuary. The night air was thick with anticipation as the outcasts prepared for the impending assault. Triton's wake had finally located them, drawn by the very breakthroughs that promised a hopeful future. Amidst the preparation, the team's morale was buoyed by their recent scientific success, but they knew the battle ahead would be their most challenging yet. The siege began just before dawn. Silhouetted against the first light were dozens of armed drones and mercenaries, a formidable force dispatched by Triton's wake. They advanced methodically, cutting through the mountain's mist with precision. Marcus Phoenix took command, positioning the team strategically within the research station's confines, utilizing every advantage their high-altitude position offered. Dr. Ilara Miles, despite the chaos, made a last-ditch effort to secure her research data. With Ghost's help, she encrypted the findings and uploaded them to a secure cloud server, accessible only through multiple layers of biometric locks. She understood that whether they survived the assault or not, the knowledge must be preserved. As bullets ricocheted off the station's reinforced walls and the echoes of explosions rolled across the peaks, Tanya Reeves coordinated a counterattack. Using non-lethal methods learned from their previous encounters, the outcasts managed to disable several of the drones, creating a temporary barrier against the advancing mercenaries. In the midst of battle, a breakthrough from Ghost turned the tide. He had managed to hack into Triton's wake's communication network, sowing confusion among their ranks by feeding them false orders and location data. This digital sabotage bought the outcasts crucial time to regroup and mount a more organized defense. As the sun rose higher, the tide of battle shifted. The outcasts, fueled by desperation and the righteousness of their cause, pushed back harder. They used the station's environmental controls to their advantage, manipulating the indoor weather systems to create dense fogs and localized rain showers, disorienting the attackers. The conflict reached a crescendo when Marcus and a small team made a daring sortie to capture the leader of the mercenary group. This risky maneuver resulted in a tense standoff, where Marcus negotiated a ceasefire. The leader, weary of the confusing orders and realizing the futility of the assault against such determined defenders, agreed to retreat. In the aftermath of the siege, as the adrenaline faded and the reality of their narrow escape settled in, the outcasts knew their victory was more than just surviving another day. They had protected a vital discovery, one that could potentially change the world. With their research data secure and their position momentarily safe, Dr. Miles proposed the next step. They would go public. The world needed to know not just about the dangers of the hydro weapons but about their potential for good. After some deliberation, the team unanimously agreed. It was time to shift the narrative from fear to hope. Ghost prepared a global broadcast, a meticulously crafted message detailing their findings, the potential applications of the hydro weapon technology for peaceful purposes, and the necessity of global cooperation to manage and protect these powerful tools. Tanya reached out to her contacts in the media and humanitarian organizations, setting the stage for a worldwide revelation. As the chapter closes, the broadcast goes live. Screens around the world flicker to the image of Dr. Miles, standing before the backdrop of the Andean sunrise, her voice steady and clear as she introduces the possibility of a new era, an era where humanity could harness the power of the hydro weapons to heal rather than harm. The response was immediate and overwhelming, with millions tuning in, captivated by the promise of turning a weapon of war into a tool for global rejuvenation. The global reaction to the Outcasts' broadcast was electric. Across continents, debates raged among governments, environmental agencies, and the general public about the potential uses and risks of the hydro weapons. While many hailed Dr. Miles as a visionary, others feared the ramifications of such powerful technology in the hands of humanity. Amidst this whirlwind of public opinion, the malevolent force behind Triton's wake began to move more aggressively. Unwilling to lose control of the narrative or the technology, Triton's wake orchestrated a bold countermove. They targeted a significant water treatment facility in Shanghai, demonstrating their ability to manipulate large bodies of water to devastating effect. This attack served as a grim reminder of the destructive potential of the hydro weapons, plunging public opinion back into fear and uncertainty. As chaos unfolded across the globe, the Outcasts knew they had to act swiftly to prevent further misuse of the technology and to reinforce their vision for a peaceful application. They decided to take the fight directly to Triton's wake by launching an operation to dismantle their main command center, believed to be hidden on Europa, where the weapons were originally discovered. This mission, dubbed Operation Neptune, was their most ambitious yet. The logistical challenges of traveling to and operating on Europa were immense. The moon's icy surface and sub-zero temperatures demanded specialized equipment and vehicles. Moreover, the presence of an alien ruin meant navigating unknown technological hazards. Marcus Phoenix coordinated the mission, planning every detail with military precision. Dr. Miles worked to adapt their equipment to function in extreme conditions, while Ghost secured communications and navigational systems against interference from Triton's wake. Tanya Reeves liaised with international backers and sympathetic governments to gather the necessary resources and clearance for the mission. The journey to Europa was fraught with tension. As they traversed the void between Earth and Jupiter, the isolation and the stakes of their mission weighed heavily on the team. Upon arrival, they deployed from their spacecraft in specialized rovers, designed to navigate the icy terrain and drill beneath the surface to access the hidden ruins. Their approach to the command center was stealthy, bypassing external sensors and guards thanks to Ghost's hacking prowess and the natural camouflage provided by Europa's harsh landscape. Once inside, they discovered that Triton's wake was not just a terrorist group but a well-funded syndicate with deep ties to extraterrestrial technology black markets. The Outcasts fought their way through the command center, encountering not only human adversaries but automated defenses built with alien technology. Dr. Miles noted the integration of human and alien tech, a hybridization that made the defenses unusually robust but also provided clues to disabling them. In a climactic confrontation, the Outcasts reached the core of the command center where they found the master controls for the hydro weapons. With Triton's wake forces closing in, Ghost managed to upload a virus specially designed by Dr. Miles to permanently disable the weapon's destructive capabilities without erasing their beneficial uses. As they activated the virus, alarms blared, and the facility began to lock down. Marcus led a desperate escape through collapsing corridors and up to the surface. Just as they reached their rovers, the command center imploded behind them, buried under layers of ice, its threat neutralized for good. Exhausted but triumphant, the Outcasts watched from the safety of their rover as the sun rose over Europa's horizon, reflecting off the icy surface. They had not only averted a global disaster but also secured the future of the hydro weapons for peaceful use. As they prepared to return to Earth, their hearts were heavy with the losses they had endured, but also lightened by the hope of a new era of cooperation and technological harmony. The successful neutralization of Triton's Wake's command center on Europa marked a pivotal moment in human history. News of the Outcasts' daring mission and the subsequent dismantling of the terrorist group's control over the hydro weapons spread like wildfire across Earth. Governments and civilians alike breathed collective sighs of relief, but the victory was not without its complications. As the Outcasts made their way back to Earth, global leaders convened in an emergency session of the United Nations to discuss the implications of the recent events. The fear of such powerful technology falling into the wrong hands again prompted a heated debate over the future of the hydro weapons. The central question was clear: how could humanity responsibly harness the power of these weapons for the betterment of all? The potential to solve water scarcity, rejuvenate barren lands, and aid in disaster relief was immense, but so was the potential for destruction if the technology were misused. Amidst the debate, Dr. Ilara Miles presented her research and findings, emphasizing the successful peaceful applications they had already demonstrated. She proposed the creation of a new international body to oversee the use of hydro weapons technology, one that would operate with transparency and under strict regulations to ensure the technology was used solely for humanitarian purposes. Meanwhile, Marcus Phoenix and the rest of the outcasts became advocates for global unity and cooperation. Their first-hand experiences with the weapon's potential and dangers made them powerful voices in the ongoing discussions. They participated in various international forums, sharing their stories and insights, helping to shape the emerging global consensus. The proposal for a new governing body gained traction, and the Earth Alliance for Water Management, EAWM, was established. This body was tasked with the deployment and oversight of hydro weapons technology, ensuring that it was used to aid countries facing environmental disasters and water crises under a strict ethical framework. As EAWM began its work, initial missions were launched to demonstrate the benefits of the technology. One of the most dramatic displays was in the Sahel region of Africa, where controlled rain was used to combat a severe drought. The project was a resounding success, bringing much-needed relief to the area and proving the potential of the hydro weapons as tools for good. However, not all were convinced of the new body's effectiveness or motives. Skeptics argued that the EAWM might become too powerful, a concern that the outcasts acknowledged and vowed to safeguard against. They continued their involvement as advisors and watchdogs, ensuring the initial ideals and safety protocols they fought for were upheld. In parallel to these developments, Tanya Reeves spearheaded humanitarian efforts, utilizing the new water technologies to improve living conditions in impoverished areas. Her work helped bridge the gap between technology and practical application, ensuring that the benefits reached those who needed them most. As the chapter closes, a global conference is held to celebrate the first year of EAWM's operations, showcasing successes and planning future projects. The conference, attended by leaders, scientists, and activists from around the world, symbolized a new era of cooperation. The hydro weapons, once symbols of fear and power, had become beacons of hope, uniting humanity in their potential to foster life and prosperity. The outcasts, watching from the sidelines, felt a mix of pride and responsibility. They had ignited this change, but the future of these endeavors would depend on the vigilance and integrity of all humanity. Following the establishment of the Earth Alliance for Water Management, EAWM, and the successful deployment of the hydro weapons for peaceful purposes, the world saw a significant transformation. Desert regions began to bloom, water scarcity was addressed in critical areas, and global cooperation reached new heights. The success of the EAWM became a testament to what could be achieved when humanity united behind a common cause. As the outcasts watched these developments, they recognized their role had evolved. No longer merely defenders against misuse of powerful technology, they became ambassadors and consultants, helping to guide the ethical application of the hydro weapons across the globe. Dr. Ilara Miles took a leading role in scientific advisory for EAWM, ensuring the technology's deployment adhered strictly to the principles of sustainability and environmental compatibility. She spearheaded projects not only focusing on immediate relief but also on long-term ecological restoration, proving that human intervention could indeed harmonize with nature's own systems. Marcus Phoenix, having seen the darker side of human nature and its capacity for conflict, became involved in the security aspect of the technology's deployment. He worked to develop protocols that ensured the security of water management installations, protecting them from both physical and cyber threats. His leadership helped establish a rapid response unit within the EAWM, trained to deal with attempts to hijack or sabotage the technology. Ghost, with his expertise in cybersecurity and systems infiltration, took on the task of safeguarding the EAWM's data and communication networks. He developed a sophisticated encryption system that allowed for secure transmission of data between different parts of the world, ensuring that the operations of the EAWM were transparent to all member nations but protected from external threats. Tanya Reeves focused on the humanitarian side, working to ensure that the benefits of the hydro weapons were distributed fairly and reached the most vulnerable populations. She coordinated with NGOs and local governments to integrate advanced water technology with traditional water management practices, fostering respect and cooperation between different cultural groups. As these initiatives took root, new challenges emerged. Political factions in various countries sought to control the technology for national gain, while some corporate interests pushed for privatization of water resources, even those produced by the hydro weapons. The outcasts found themselves at the center of diplomatic efforts to counteract these pressures, arguing that water, as a fundamental human right, should remain free from monopolization. The culmination of these efforts was the Global Water Summit held in Geneva, Switzerland. Here, leaders from around the world gathered to discuss the future of water management. The The summit was marked by a keynote speech from Dr. Miles, where she presented a vision for the next decade of water technology, a system not only designed to meet human needs but also to restore and maintain the ecological balance of the planet. The chapter closes on a hopeful note, with the signing of the Geneva Accord on Water Technology, a comprehensive treaty that established guidelines for the ethical use, sharing, and protection of water resources worldwide. The treaty represented a bold commitment to the collective future of the planet, a commitment that the outcasts had fought hard to achieve. The world had not just averted a crisis, it had turned a potential weapon into a tool for unprecedented global renewal. As the delegates filed out of the conference hall, the first drops of rain, generated by a nearby hydro weapon station, began to fall over the city, a poetic affirmation of the new era that was dawning. Years had passed since the outcasts first thwarted Triton's wake and laid the foundations for a new era of global cooperation with the hydro weapons. The world had been irrevocably changed, arid landscapes transformed into fertile plains, former conflict zones now thriving communities, and a collective sense of purpose had replaced the old fears and divisions. Captain Marcus Phoenix, now an elder statesman in the global water management community, reflected on these transformations from a quiet, verdant park in the heart of what was once a desert. The park was part of a vast network of green spaces around the globe known as the Triton Gardens, named not after the terrorist group but for the moon of Jupiter where humanity had found the hydro weapons. These gardens were a symbol of peace and prosperity, watered by technologies once designed for war but now guardians of Earth's resurgence. As Marcus strolled through the gardens, he passed families and children playing near water features that sparkled under the sunlight, their laughter and music that filled the air with hope. He approached a memorial, a simple structure of stone and water, dedicated to those who had sacrificed during the dark days of Triton's wake and the battles that followed. His fingers traced the names engraved in the stone, a silent salute to fallen friends and allies. Dr. Ilara Miles joined him by the memorial. Retirement had not dulled her sharp mind, and she continued to serve as a consultant on various projects, ensuring the legacy of their work remained true to its purpose. Together, they discussed the upcoming International Conference on Water Sustainability, a subject close to Ilara's heart. Nearby, Ghost operated a tech education center, where he taught cybersecurity and system management to the next generation of protectors. His work ensured that the digital defenses of the global water network remained impervious to the kinds of threats that once nearly brought the world to its knees. His students, a diverse group from across the globe, were a testament to the new world's emphasis on unity and shared knowledge. Tanya Reeves, who had founded an NGO focused on integrating advanced water technologies with traditional conservation practices, was hosting a community workshop in another part of the gardens. Her efforts had helped bridge the gap between old and new, ensuring that every community could benefit from the technologies without losing their cultural heritage. As the day faded into evening, the community gathered for a ceremony to light the beacon of Triton, a symbolic lighthouse built in the center of the park. It was a tradition that had begun on the first anniversary of the Geneva Accord, symbolizing the enduring vigilance and commitment of the global community to safeguard the blessings of water for all. Marcus was given the honor of lighting the beacon this year. As the light flared to life, casting long shadows and bathing the park in warm light, he felt a profound connection to the past and future. The world they had fought for was not perfect, but it was infinitely better. The challenges of tomorrow would be met with the same courage and collaboration that had turned the tide years ago. As the ceremony concluded, children played in the glow of the beacon, their joyous shouts mingling with the evening breeze. Marcus and Ilara watched them, seeing in their unguarded mirth the true victory of their long struggles. Here, in the echoes of Triton, lay not just a memory of what had been overcome, but a promise of what was yet to come.